Grand Rising Nubian guys and goddesses. I've been doing some research on some things um, as far as information and reading books online and whatever, even though I do see people reading books online, children's books, adult books, and discussions and stuff. I'm just trying to do the research and make sure that everything is okay, you know. Um, I'm gonna finish this book though, even though I'm doing the research on different things. But the significance of skin color in human relations by Kenneth J. Gergen. The last time that I read, I stopped off when the author started to get into color and the semantic values and the feelings that various colors communicate. So I'm gonna have a little discussion on that because I'm almost done with this part. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to finish it. I'm gonna try. So I hope everything has been well with you. You know, we're just making it happen, right? With all the things that's going on today, food prices, gas prices, utility prices, um, rent prices. I don't care what, if you own your home, rent your home, or whatever, the prices has gone up. You may have some advantage when you own your home, but things have just significantly went up. You don't know what it is going to be, how much something is going to be from one day to the next. But, so, let me get into this. And, oh yeah, one more thing. I did a show with a friend of mine. We've been trying to hook up for some time with busy lives. You know, we talk often, but we hadn't been able to get together to get a show done. So we got the show done, but because of interruptions during the show, it cut us off. So I listened back to it and I was not able to really produce it because it just cut the show off at the height. So we are going to be getting back together this week, and maybe the one that is supposed to get to you will get to you. But I was really disappointed with that. So this author is getting into how do colors come to have this semantic value, and what feelings do various colors communicate. Some have argued that the connotative meanings of various colors are related to innate physiological structure. For example, certain colors stimulate a greater number of receptor cells in the retina of the eye and, thus, in the central nervous system. These same colors absorb less heat and may, therefore, be cooler to the touch. While this notation may account for certain reactions to color brightness and saturation, it does not account for the many differences produced by the all-important dimension of hue. Nor does this theory explain the range of different emotions that may be elicited by the same color over time. A more reasonable explanation may be derived from principles of associative learning. So that paragraph brings something up to me of colors, what kind of feelings that colors bring up. And to me, I think it brings up like when a person of color gets pulled over by the police, all this malice and animosity and hate comes out of that individual who is most likely Caucasian, or it could be a person of color who is colonized, Europeanized, and has this mindset. That is what comes to my mind about how color can affect a person as well of another race, maybe the same race, because affecting a person of the same race against a person of the same race as you are, that means that a lot of times that you have these preconceived notions as far as being the way you perceive yourself and what you're trying to prove, which can be a very sad thing to me. But let me stick to this program, and I will continue to have my comments for discussion because this is educational. Within this letter framework, certain environmental events are observed to possess the inherent capacity to produce various emotions. A full stomach may provide the newborn child with a pleasurable sensation, while a loud and unexpected noise may produce fear. Various aspects of the environment to which the initial response has been neutral may come to be associated with these more basic forms of arousal. If a mother's caress has been associated with physical satisfaction, her presence on subsequent occasions may be sufficient to elicit some form of pleasure. While colors may initially be effectively neutral for the developing child, they are constant aspects of his environment. If a given color is usually present when a child is frightened or sad, through processes of associative learning, such a color may come to elicit such feelings at later points in time. These associations may develop prior to linguistic abilities. Unless extinguished, they may continue through the individual's life. While the learning hypotheses may largely account for the emotional or connotative significance of various colors, the question of what colors communicate remains at bay. This issue also presents an intriguing enigma. Not only do different colors register differently on a symbolic level, but the emotional significance of certain colors may be common both within and even across cultural boundaries. If indeed primary reactions to colors are learned, it is a matter of some amazement that peoples with highly dissimilar cultural backgrounds should react similarly to a given color. After careful study of color symbolism in the Western tradition, Matthew Luckish lists the following as most commonly associated with black. So the colors he listed that are associated with black are woe, gloom, darkness, dread, death, terror, horror, wickedness, curse, mourning, and mortification. Walter Sargent adds to this list the attributes of defilement, error, annihilation, strength, and deep quiet. From his studies, Faber-Berin concludes that despair is the major association elicited by black. Such attributes stand in marked contrast to those associated with white. And so the words, the colors associated, color symbolism associated with white is triumph, light, innocence, joy, divine power, purity, regeneration, happiness, gaiety, peace, chastity, truth, modesty, femininity, and delicacy. Studies of color symbolism in the Bible, the works of Chaucer, Milton, Shakespeare, Hawthorne, Poe, and Melville also reveal a major tendency to use white in expressing forms of goodness and black in connotating evil. In terms of the above discussion of connotative meaning, it might be said that white tends to elicit a positive evaluative reaction and black a negative one. Several direct and well-controlled tests of this relationship have been made within Western culture. All convincingly demonstrate the differential evaluative reaction to black versus white. One of the more outstanding of these studies demonstrated, but not only that white is rated more positively than black, but that both Negroes as well as whites feel similarly in this regard, though whites are more extreme in their differential evaluation of the colors. Furthermore, black is related by both racial groups as more potent but less active than white. These latter findings are particularly intriguing inasmuch as they coincide with the popular Western stereotype that Negroes are strong but lazy. My comment is, how can you be strong? Well, I guess there's no way strong but lazy. They called the slaves lazy but strong. Strong but lazy. While the homogeneity of meaning within the Caucasian-dominated culture of the West is impressive, the possibility that color symbolism may be common across cultural boundaries is even more challenging. The evidence in this case is, of course, much more sparse, and one must be tentative. A systematic examination of a randomly selected group of cultures does reveal, however, many interesting observations. For the Cheyenne, a Sino-Tibetan border people, a sacred white stone is a leading feature of worship. The anthropologist studying this culture notes the people's basic tendency to equate white with goodness and blackness with evil. Among the Mongol descendants of the Mongols, Black is the color of mourning, and white betokens good fortune. The Chukchis of Siberia utilize black to symbolize the Keelets, or evil spirits. Germain Dieterlen has observed that for the Bambara, a West African Negro tribe, white is used to symbolize wisdom and purity of the spirit. A piece of white cloth is sometimes hung over the door of a home where the inhabitants have just made a sacrifice. White is also the regal color. The dark tones of indigo, on the other hand, connote obscenity, impurity, and sadness. Black is also identified with the north and the rainy season. Similarly, Negroes of northern Rhodesia are observed to associate good luck with cleanness and whiteness. A hunter smears a white substance on his forehead to invoke the powers of fortune. A person who has met with disaster is said to be black on the forehead. In Nigeria, the Nupe tribe represents bleak or frightening prospects, sorcery, or evil by black, while white implies luck and good prospects. The Yorubas, also in Nigeria, wear white when worshiping, as they believe the deities prefer white. Among the Creek Indians of North America, white betokens virtue and age, and black implies death. Although the present examination did reveal irregularities, these were extremely few and limited largely to instances in which white was associated with funeral rites. In short, the major volume of the evidence suggests widespread communality in feelings about black and white. Before the significance of these findings for human relationships can be examined, the apparent existence of communality must be reconciled with the theory of color learning developed above. If the connotative meanings of colors are primarily learned, why is there not dramatic variability in the emotional impact of various colors from one cultural context to another? One clear reason for uniformity in association obviously derives from cultural diffusion. Meanings meanings common within a culture may be passed on to others as a simple result of cross-cultural interaction. Such an explanation would not, however, account for the germination of such association or for their common existence in somewhat isolated areas of the world. More compelling is the possibility that the emotional response to at least the experience of black and white is established at a very early age, and as a result of almost universal experiences, two such experiences seem especially germane: the meaning of night versus day for the child, and the training he receives in cleanliness. Night is often a period in which the child is in isolation, without comfort or bodily gratification. Moreover, night is a perfect screen on which he can project his worst fears. Any phantom, no matter how formidable, can exist within the amorphous cover in blackness. In Wallace Stevens' poem, Domination of Black, one finds the following reaction to chaos and disorder. I saw the night come striding like the colors of the heavy hemlocks. I felt afraid. With the coming of daylight, family and environment are again visibly present, and sustenance and touch available. It is also much more difficult to project one's fears into the compelling properties of visually apparent objects. John Dollard and Neil Miller have perhaps best outlined the profound significance of cleanliness training in the life of the child. It is unnecessary to review the depths of their arguments to appreciate that for most children, immersion in dirt or other dark substances is ultimately reprehensible and unsoiled skin rewarded. So, are the basic emotional reactions triggered by various colors generalized to the domain of social interaction? Will, for example, the person whose emotional reaction to black is negative also feel antipathy for people whose skins are dark? In theory, such a possibility is highly plausible, and research has shown that emotions generated by color can be generalized to objects continuously paired with color. But when one turns to the factual domain, the evidence is far from conclusive. The evidence of anti Negro sentiments among whites is subject to a host of explanations that do not involve color experience. More compelling and yet unsettling are incidents in which Negroes themselves seem negatively predisposed toward those among them with dark skin. Some of the most dramatic cases of this kind are found in the literature on mental illness among Negroes. Investigators have noted the great frequency with which the desire to be white recurs in dreams and delusional states of hospitalized Negroes. Such patients believe that they are really white, but that their skin is dirty, dyed, or painted. Some even think that they have eaten foods that have caused their skins to darken. Really? Other investigators have found that Negro self-esteem may be greatly impaired as a result of such feelings, and then accompanying self-hatred may be generalized to hatred for the entire Negro race, and that accompanying self-hatred, it says. Such feelings do not seem to be limited to psychotic patients. Among normal groups, one study has shown that 3 out of 5 Negroes feel that black is the worst color to be. Among Negro college students, light-skinned Negroes are considered more attractive. On the broad societal level, the broad social level, Negroes with lighter skin have more education and hold jobs with higher status. In studies of adults, it is, of course, difficult to rule out the impact that the attitudes and treatment received from whites have had on Negro feelings towards self. Okay? So there was that brainwashing that contributed to some of the feelings that some of us continue to hold for ourselves. of one another. Let me continue. In studies of adults, it is of course difficult to rule out the impact that the attitudes and treatment received from whites have had on Negro feelings towards self. It would also be a mistake to attribute all these various findings to simple assimilation of white attitudes. Somewhat more convincing with regard to our initial supposition are studies of elementary and preschool children. Even in the second grade, Negro children will prefer white children as friends. The Clarks have found that 3-year-old Negro children will notably prefer a white doll to a brown one, feeling the white doll is nicer, looks better, and has a better color. Further studies show that preschool nursery children will fail to identify themselves as Negro and will prefer to see themselves as white. The supposition that attitudes toward color generalize to attitudes toward people, and in this case, working toward the detriment of the Negro, gains further credence when one produces various accounts of experiences in non-Western cultures. The classic case is the capitulation of the Aztec civilization to Cortez and his small band of soldiers, an event some have thought to be the result of the Aztec association of whiteness with divinity. There are also the accounts of Captain James Cook's explorations in New Zealand, where he found that the more prestigious natives of the tribes were of a whiter caste. Melville's description of the Marquesan Islanders is also a propos. Upon the arrival of the first white woman to the island, the islanders gazed in mute admiration at so unusual a prodigy, and seemed inclined to regard her as some new divinity. The Marquesan women were also known to take great pains to whiten their skin in order to appear more beautiful. In India, Varna, the word for case, originally meant color, while the color of the highest case, the Brahmins, is white. The color associated with the Sutras, the lowest case, is black. Although hardly conclusive, the evidence suggests that whenever there are distinctively different color lines within a society, there will be a pronounced tendency toward strife between the light and the dark. Further alterations in laws or social structure, loosening of economic biases, and reduction of prejudice within any period of time will not serve as a trans-historical panacea. Rather, each new generation may have to learn anew the irrational basis of their antipathy. While race prejudice may, to some extent, be learned, persons may also have to be taught not to be prejudiced. The often noted tendency for the dark-skinned to feel inferior may have an initial basis in color symbolism. Such feelings thus diminish further the self-esteem of the Dark Ages. An extended process of relearning may be entailed. So, I got this far. I got two part. I'm gonna resume this evening with skin color in the world of everyday relations. That is gonna be interesting. Skin color in the world of everyday relations that we navigate through every day of our lives. When I tell you I love this book, I really do, because I remember when I first picked it up. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and they said, "Well, you have you ever tried reading on your YouTube channel?" I'm like, "No," um, because she reads on her Facebook page. So anyway, I took the advice, and I always wanted to find one, where I could be, have a book that I'm interested in, and let it be just let me listen to it. But I know that this book can be really, really um, it can drag. But I'm just organic and natural with it, you know. And I hope that you are learning and enjoying the book just like I am. And I have so much planned and so many people that are willing to join me. It's just a time factor. And it's also having everything set up for no interruptions. But I'm going to be coming back this evening to finish that part and dig into that, the everyday relations part, so that I can move on to this whole total different, the social perception of skin color in Japan. I can't wait to do that one. Moving right along. So, with all of that being said, I want to wish everyone peace, love, and light, and we're gonna have positive outlook for 2024. I know there's a lot going on, but we have to be concerned for our children's future. So we have to be concerned with what's going on with us. And so I am TB Wahid, Black Living Room Talk, and look for the second part of this section. This evening I will post it. Hotel.